Neymar, I think, was just signed for marketing. I don't think he was signed to play football.
The night for Hilal first.
Football intermediary Saif Rubie.
Football agent Saif Rubie.
Social media is what's made a lot of these young players lose their mind. And nobody player in a youth team with hundreds of thousands and millions of followers and you think you're a superstar, but you've done nothing in the game.
What happened with Rudiger?
You represent Rudiger.
I don't represent Rudiger. I was the intermediary involved in bringing Rudiger to Chelsea Football Club.
Well, you got the deal done.
100%.
So I took him to Chelsea. I helped Chelsea acquire the services of a player with Roma. I've been involved in many different transactions. One that sticks to mind a long time ago was Demba Ba.
Over the top for Ba! Well, he was quick to react.
He's a great guy, and I was the one responsible for bringing him to the Premier League. These guys wish they earned the kind of money some of these players are earning, so they're gonna be bitter.
I bet your phone doesn't stop ringing now from players. Hey, move me to Saudi.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they're all a bit delusional because the requirements and the standards are not as low as they think they are. People forget that just because you can be an unbelievable player in Europe, that would be easy to play in the Middle East. For me, Messi is a different comparison. Cristiano Ronaldo's conquered 4, 5, 6 different countries around the world. When things go wrong, we always have to look at ourselves first before anything else. Footballers, for whatever reason, will blame everything around them but themselves.
Welcome back to your #1 podcast, the show where we bring you inspiring stories from people who've made a mark in their respective fields. Me, myself, I love football so much, and I know the vast majority of you guys love football as well. Now, football is just like any other business in this world, and in this business, there are a lot of people involved in it. We're talking about owners, shareholders, investors, coaches, manager, and obviously the players. There are also the football agents who connect the dots together. Today, we've got one of the most successful football agents in this game. His name has been resonated behind the biggest transfers, the biggest headlines. Please, before we get started, just make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and remember, the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guest gets. Enjoy. Thank you for making the time to be on our show today. I really appreciate you.
No problem.
I'm really excited to have this with you, and our audience are, so let's dive straight into it. You've had an incredible career in sports management. Like, what drew you into this unique path? I mean, most people grow up aspiring to be footballers, doctors, or even lawyers. Why sports management?
Because at a young age, I saw a path where I was very good with dealing with talent, and obviously football players are talent. So, and I knew quite a lot of players who were my age growing up. So, players like John Terry, Frank Lampard, who I grew up in the same area in London, and it just seemed like a natural progression to go from being someone that knows a lot of these guys to working with them. And obviously that's quite a long time ago now, and I went and decided to see how I can become a fully licensed agent.
Amazing. And you grew up in West London, right?
West London, yeah, that's
West
right.
London,
yeah.
Just around near Chelsea.
Near Chelsea, near Fulham, both those grounds. I lived stone's throw away from both.
And who do you support, Chelsea?
No, I support whoever I do business with.
Fair enough, fair enough. And at one point, you were the youngest FIFA agent.
Yeah. When I got my license, I was the youngest in the world.
And how did that feel? Being the youngest?
It wasn't, it was just one of those things where, because I never worked for a company or anything like that, I always did everything myself. So it was just a case of getting qualified and sort of getting stuck into the business end of things and trying to see how I can, work with talent and build relations with football clubs and just, get my way into the business.
And you're originally from Iraq?
Yeah, originally from Iraq, but I was born and bred in London.
Fair enough. شكو ماكو.
الحمد
تحكي
لله.
عراقي؟
احكي عراقي شوية، احكي عراقي بس عشان يعني الشغل مالي دائما باللغة الإنجليزية، فالعربي مالي مع الأسف شوية مكسر.
لا بالعكس العربي تبعك جميل.
فاستأذنوني يعني على هالبرنامج الممتاز، يعني شكرا عليكم يعني لكم، بس يعني شوي.
يعطيك العافية. لا برافو، العربي تبعك ممتاز جدا. Someone who born and grew up in London, you speak very good Arabic.
No problem.
So for those who don't know the difference between an agent and intermediary, because in an interview you said the media doesn't always seem to get that right. So what's the difference between these two?
There was a difference. Now they've kind of tried to put it all under the same bracket because, obviously football agents started off as a thing by FIFA, and then it became something governed more by the football associations of every country. And those countries, instead of using the word agent, use the word intermediary, because obviously an intermediary is by definition somebody who is acting as a middle person.
Yeah.
So that could be an intermediary for any side of a potential transaction of a football deal. So be it the player, be it the buying club, be it the selling club. But now, in the last year and a half, FIFA have taken control back of the system, and it's back to FIFA agents licensing system.
And how is it dealing with the FIFA organization? Because a lot of people say it's a corrupt organization, it's not as clean as it seemed to be.
I mean, look,
A lot of politics there.
I mean, I would say politics. I wouldn't go as far as saying corruption, because at the end of the day, you know, whether we like it or not, in high-level, high-profile businesses, there's always different levels of, I wouldn't say corruption, but things happening that people may question the reasons behind. And FIFA is just another one of them. But, you know, at the end of the day, they do a great job in bringing the world's biggest sport to the world. And, you know, despite obviously them doing a lot of maybe extra things like trying to increase the number of matches being played and tournaments and things like that, you know, they do a great job for developing the sport of football around the world, especially to third world countries and new territories.
You've said in a previous interview for you, football is just like any other business. And in this business, there's a lot of bad people involved in it.
Of course, I mean, any business that has a lot of, let's say, money involved in it is always going to have people that are, you know, let's say, who may not act in the most ethical way, who may not do things in the right way, or who don't conduct themselves in the right way. You know, and there's always going to be negative things being said about everybody, including myself. So that comes with the territory.
That's just part of the job.
That's it.
Are you the only Arab football intermediary at this high level, I mean?
No, I would say maybe, obviously there's a lot of, let's say, French North African agents that obviously work with some of the biggest North African footballers in the world that are like maybe players that play for France and things like that. So I wouldn't say I'm one of the biggest in that way, but, you know, everyone's doing what they do and everyone's working in different deals. And I always say to everybody, you know, I respect everybody who's working in my business and let everybody hopefully make good successes and good business.
Fair enough. You've been part of some of the most controversial transfer in recent memory. Can you walk us through one of the most challenging negotiations you faced and how you managed to seal these big deals?
I don't know about controversial, to be honest. I mean, the thing is with football transactions, there's a lot of different things that go on to make a deal happen. And, you know, my job is to kind of connect and introduce the right groups together to make things happen, especially as being someone who's more of a broker as opposed to someone who's an agent for the players. So I'm not really necessarily involved on a day-to-day basis with a lot of players. But of course, I have great relations with players, their agents, their family members. And because also I work very closely with a lot of, you know, big international football clubs, I'm able to connect all different parties together to make the deals happen.
So how does it work? Let's say I'm an owner of a club. I phone you up, I say, Saif, listen, I'm looking for a world-class midfielder. Who do you know? And then you start looking for players, or?
Yeah, I mean, look.
Or the players ring you up?
No, I mean, well, players will ring you up. Obviously, the players that ring you up are typically players that are not doing very well or who are trying to, you know, are not happy where they are, etc. But I mean, you know, I have great relations with different owners, you know, in Europe and in the Premier League. And I might be speaking to one of them and they'll say to me, Saif, we have a budget of X amount to try and find a midfielder of this profile or a striker. Are there any of potentially quality, talented players? And it's my job to help and identify their recruitment team and alert them to opportunities in the market that, you know, most of these players, of course, because these scouting things are so advanced nowadays, they'll be aware of them, but that's just on the technical player side. That's not on the business money side. So is this player available? What's his value? Does he want to come to England? Does he want to go to France? Does he want to go to Germany? What's his salary expectations? These are all the things that are like part of my job that I have to put together in order to present a deal and a package to a football club.
Let's talk about industry evolution. The transfer market has evolved ridiculously over the years. In your opinion, what has been the most significant change and how has it impacted the role of agents like yourself?
I mean, probably historically, it's probably like the Bosman ruling, which obviously meant that players that are out of contract are able to move freely. They'll have the freedom of movement. And what that did is obviously that gave values to contracts of players and made it even more important for football clubs to secure their talent and secure their players on longer term contracts in order to have a value to the contracts. So I guess maybe that was one of the biggest things that happened in the world of football.
Just like what happened with Rudiger, which I believe you helped secure him a deal at Real Madrid.
Yeah, I mean, I was part of that situation. Obviously, I took him to Chelsea. I helped Chelsea acquire the services of the player with Roma. And, in the end, obviously, there was a change of ownership at Chelsea, which I think didn't really help in them trying to secure the player on a new deal. And in the end, he became a free agent and obviously was able to pick and choose where he wanted to go, in the world. And he ended up at Real Madrid. And, great for him and his family that he's achieved great success. And obviously this season winning the Champions League and the Spanish League.
Yeah, and he's just performing incredibly well at the Euros as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like anything. Players can only be judged by, how they adapt to different situations and how they improve and, how they come along as a professional, as a talent. And you could only know that by when they increase their levels and, like players like Jude Bellingham, for example, this guy was playing
incredible
youth team football 3-4 years ago, and now he's playing for the biggest team in the world, doing what he's doing in the world stage. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I know I'm a Chelsea fan myself, and I was gutted for Chelsea to let go of Rudiger. I mean, now with the new ownership, we don't call it football at Chelsea, we call it soccer.
Yeah, I mean, they have their own ways of what they're doing at the moment with their recruitment and their strategies, and only time will tell whether it's going to be something that's going to be, beneficial to the club and to the way things are, and whether they're going to go back to winning ways under the old ownership.
Doesn't seem like it. It's really painful watching your team from winning Premier League titles year after year, competing at high level. I mean, come on, like 2 years ago, we won the Champions League. Whenever we had to face City or Liverpool, I was just calm, relaxed, because I know we've got a chance now. I don't want to even watch the game.
Let's hope this. Let's see what this season brings. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. I mean, considering the type of players they brought in, the managers, not what Chelsea fans are really hope for.
It's a new age.
It's a new age. What are your thoughts on the current state of the transfer market? Are we seeing more strategic moves, or is it still a high stakes of game of chance?
No, it's definitely become more strategized for different reasons, like financial fair play, profitability, sustainability rules that have been put into the Premier League, for example. Even down to things like in France now, they're struggling to find a TV contract deal for the league, which is impacting all the clubs financially. It's not how it used to be before, where teams were able to spend whatever they wanted on transfers and players and contracts. So, it's a lot more of a financial play when it comes to signing talent and what type of contracts and agreements they put them into.
Like Chelsea are doing now, 7 years contract, 8 years contract.
A lot of these clubs are doing. Actually, West Ham announced signing of a 27-year-old defender this morning from Wolverhampton Wanderers, and he was given a 7-year contract, and he's 27.
Wow. 7 years contract.
At 27, so it's quite interesting.
It is. Let's talk about Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, because I'm from Saudi myself, I've seen you posting pictures from a Shabab stadium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell us more. Are you working there now?
No, I have very great relations with Al Shabab, with Al Nasser, with, like Saudi Arabian football is very interesting. Obviously, they are very passionate about football. They love the game. And, they've invested a lot of money into the league, into the infrastructures, into what they're doing, obviously bringing Cristiano Ronaldo to the league. I just like to lend my experience and support to try and help these teams and see what opportunities there are, whether it's play-related, commercial-related, all this type of things.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a lot of hate for what we're doing now at the moment. Like from the West, especially Gary Neville and the likes of Gary Neville. And
yeah, but these guys wish they earned the kind of money some of these players are earning. So
Absolutely.
they're going to be bitter. But at the same time, people forget that Saudi's a football-loving nation.
Yeah.
And have a lot of people in the country, and that's why the league is becoming successful how it is.
Yeah, like, I mean, we grew up playing football in the streets barefooted. Like, all what we knew is football, football, football. And just to see the league at this level now, it's fascinating.
Definitely, for sure.
It makes me proud as a Saudi. And I bet your phone doesn't stop ringing now from players. Hey, move me to Saudi.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they're all a bit delusional because, the requirements and the standards are not as low as they think they are. So a lot of these players will contact me thinking that it's just easy to move from a middle lower Premier League team to a Saudi League team. But at the end of the day, they have the money to acquire top talents. So these players are not necessarily going to be of interest to the league. And now they've got Michael Manella, who used to work, in England, and he's helping with the direction of the league and strategizing that side of it. So no, they have the means to acquire top players.
Do you reckon it's going to be in the top 5 leagues in the world? Because that's the vision.
Only time will tell. I feel like the last year they've gone heavy into boxing and MMA and fighting from the ministry side of things. So, that's been crazy, high profile, high investment into that. So whether the football will carry, I don't think the football will be the same as last year, for example, when it comes to the dealings. And as you've seen it, the market has been very slow in Saudi this summer in terms of players going from Europe. Also, remember, there's a limit of how many players every team can sign. So they already reached those limits last year when they were signing players on 3-year contracts and things like that.
And some players, for the money they're bringing in, they haven't excelled really at the level of the expectations.
Look, haven't really looked into it. Probably you being Saudi, probably know more about how they've been doing in the league. But
like Benzema, for instance.
Yeah, but I mean, again, people forget that just because you can be an unbelievable player in Europe, that would be easy to play in the Middle East or, in a league that's maybe, let's say, a lower league, because at the end of the day, you're still relying to have on, better players around you. And it's not an easy league to play in. The conditions are not the same. The heat is obviously, acclimatization, things like that. So there's a lot of factors that come into it. But then you've got players like Mitrovic. Killing it, smashing it, doing really well. So, there's different reasons why things work out and things don't work out. Neymar, I think, was just signed for marketing. I don't think he was signed to play football.
We haven't even seen him kick a ball for the whole season.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's given them the marketing exposure that they wanted. Hopefully he'll do some good football before he leaves them, but it is what it is.
But do you reckon if it wasn't for Cristiano, we would have been able to get Neymar and the likes of players like that?
Cristiano Ronaldo for me is a trailblazer. And at the end of the day, he's, for me, the only player in the history of world football who's been able to transcend many different countries and the way he's done things. So, not to say that, for me, Messi is a different comparison. Cristiano Ronaldo's conquered 4, 5, 6 different countries around the world, still playing how he's playing, internationally, even though obviously he doesn't, he gets criticized, when he plays for Portugal, when things don't go well. But even now, if you look at the Copa America, I think Messi hasn't scored 1 goal and missed a penalty in the last game. So, but, people like to hate on Ronaldo more just because maybe he's a bit more of a character.
Yeah, he's a bit of a character, right?
For sure. But when you're a legend and achieved what he's achieved, you can do what you want.
Do you think he handled his way out of United in the proper way? Because obviously he had that fallout with the...
There's no proper way. I mean, look, at the end of the day, what he did and what he said was proven to be correct in time.
It was, but it was disappointing for me to see. Look, I'm from Saudi. I'm happy that he's playing in the league. But come on, bro. Messi just won the World Cup, and he was at that time was playing for PSG Champions League level, and he moved to Saudi. Just you're letting.
No, but at the end of the day, Manchester United didn't appreciate him, or Manchester United management at the time didn't appreciate him. Yeah. So what do you expect the guy to do?
But his idea was okay, let me do this interview with Paris. Lay it all out of my chest, and hopefully I will perform really well at the World Cup, and then I can secure a big deal and still play at Europe. And then that didn't come.
Yeah, but firstly, no one could afford his package anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not a question of he wanted, a bigger team or a bigger league or bigger this.
Does he really care about money? He's got all the money he wants in the
world.
But
it's not about money. It's about legacy in terms of showing that you can take football for like you just said. If it wasn't for Cristiano Ronaldo, would the Saudi Pro League be doing what it's doing right now?
Absolutely, yeah.
He's put his mark on it.
Yeah.
End of the day, Messi hasn't put his mark on Miami FC because that was David Beckham.
True.
Years before.
True. And he's conducting himself really well. He's like fitting into that Saudi culture.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you can't really knock the guy.
No, I'm not really knocking, but I love Ronaldo. I love his mentality. He's like an inspiration
For everybody.
everybody. Like whether you love football or not.
But
the
that's
guy
it.
inspiring.
So that's what I'm saying. That's why for me, he gets more props,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
But maybe if he waited until after the World Cup in Qatar and then he made that interview, maybe he could have.
This is life. Look, what people don't understand is so much goes on behind the scenes in football
Right.
clubs that, you know, whether it's players, managers, coaches, agents, people always want to blame somebody. And in this case, they blamed Ronaldo, but I'm sure Ronaldo's not losing any sleep over Manchester United and their state of affairs.
Not really. No, but let's speak in hindsight. So if you were his agent, right, would you have advised him to give that interview with Piers Morgan just before the World Cup?
Look,
What would you done if you were his agent?
I have no idea because I don't know what hardships he was going through and difficulties he was going through at Manchester United. So if Manchester United were not handling him in a good way and the manager there wasn't handling him in a good way, which obviously I don't know the exact details, but you could see in his last few games in Manchester United, the manager was handling him like he was a youth player.
Yeah.
And that was disrespectful. And he was
was.
still top goal scorer for Manchester United at 38 years old.
Exactly, yeah. He scored like over 20 goals.
So there you go. So, and if he hadn't scored those 20 goals for Manchester United, they would have been relegation.
It's true.
So, you know, in hindsight, you can never really know anything. All we know is whatever he was saying about the lack of organization in Manchester United was proven to be correct. And look, he's gone and created history in Saudi Arabia. So for us being in the Middle East, we should be thankful for that and hoping that he can carry on holding the torch in the league.
Absolutely. You've worked with some of the biggest names in football. Can you share a surprising story about a player that left a lasting impression on you, whether positive or negative?
No, I mean, look, I've been involved in many different transactions. One that sticks to mind a long, long time ago was Demba Ba.
Oh, Demba Ba, I love him. I met him outside Kingston Mosque in London.
Yeah, so he's a great guy, and I was the one responsible for bringing him to the Premier League.
To Newcastle?
No, to West Ham United. But in fact, he was supposed to go to Stoke City, and he actually failed his medical exam. And that was, for me, the reason that made his whole football career in life, because it was that failed medical with Stoke City that enabled him to move to West Ham, which then made him move to Newcastle, which made him move to Chelsea, and have a great long career at the highest level, and then even longer career earning a great amount of money playing in China and in Turkey.
Right.
So yeah, it was, you know, at the time when he failed his medical, obviously things were very, very down because you fail a medical, you think things are going to go really bad. But thankfully, I was able to find a way to bring him to England with the teams that were looking for strikers at the time, and that was West Ham. And as I say, the rest is history. And I actually saw Demba in the World Cup in Qatar, and we caught up and had a laugh about all of that.
I'll never forget his goal with Chelsea against PSG.
Yeah.
Which made us qualify to the next round.
Yeah, he did well for Chelsea, and obviously Chelsea signed him on a cheap amount of money because he had a buyout with Newcastle at the time. So again, it was great business all round, and that's it. These things happen.
And who was the player who surprised you the most in a negative way?
I don't like to talk about players negatively because, to be honest, again, it's one of those things where, you know, there's always different perspectives and opinions of things, and to be honest, I don't really like to go there because also players get very emotional, and you know, some players will just as human beings, you know, all of us, not just as football players, you know, when things go wrong, we always have to look at ourselves first before anything else. But footballers, for whatever reason, will blame everything around them but themselves. So I don't really like to say negative things, you know, in terms of specific cases, just to say that, you know, the most important thing is to always try and focus on yourself and do the best for yourself. And then hopefully, inshallah, things will get better.
Do you think social media have changed the way or the mentality of football players nowadays?
Of course. Social media is what's made a lot of these young players lose their mind.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, you can be a nobody player in a youth team and with hundreds of thousands and millions of followers and you think you're a superstar. but you've done nothing in the game. But unfortunately, earning a lot of money, and people around these players are some of them may not be not controlling them, but advising them correctly, or having their feet grounded and things like that. So
guiding them in the right way.
That's it. So yeah, social media for sure has had an impact on that.
Because I'm just thinking, if John Terry, the likes of John Terry, Ferdinand had social media, they would have been the same. Or
I mean, look, it's tough to say, because don't forget, even these guys, to be fair, and obviously I grew up with them, so they had their very, very negative experiences with the media for things that they did off the field. So if social media was around in those days, I don't know, maybe things could have been different. But they're great lads, and these things happen. The
social media profile of players, does it help to seal a deal?
No.
Help in any way?
No. Clubs don't look at that. They may look at that if they're signing a player, maybe who's a bit older, or maybe who's a big name player for commercial reasons. But the reality is, everything is down to football.
But not just to show
No.
Okay. Just for commercial reasons?
Yes.
Like the number of followers and...
Yeah, engagement, things like that. Obviously, that's a new media marketing way of things of the world. So,
just like when Cristiano moved to Al-Nassr, he pushed him millions of followers in a couple of days.
But that's what I was saying about Neymar. These things are, football, but those things at that level maybe sometimes also commercially driven.
Agents often face lots of hate for having too much influence over players. How do you respond to accusations that agents are driving up wages, fees, potentially ruining the sport?
No, I say that's nonsense, because it's up to football clubs and directors and people working in football clubs to be organized in a way where they are prepared for buying and selling players and talents. End of the day, if you have a player, you should never think that you want to keep this player forever. Especially the problem with sport in general, especially a sport like football, there's a lot of human nature involved. So it's not just about football and what's going on the pitch, what's going on off the pitch. It's about their mentality, it's about their psychology. So these are things that clubs have to consider. Sometimes clubs don't consider that and think that they want to keep players no matter what, and then that just ends up driving down the value of these players. So again,
we've seen that already with Chelsea.
It happens with everybody.
Yeah.
So for me, like from an agent's perspective, I wouldn't say agents are necessary evil, but at the end of the day, they're there to do a job for everybody. They're not just working for the players, they're working for the clubs, they're working for whoever they're working for. So, it's just that when things don't go the club's way, clubs want to be negative about the agent side of things, and the same thing with the players. So these things happen.
You once said in an interview, there is no loyalty in football.
Definitely not, because at the end of the day, unfortunately, the clubs only care about their own intentions and what they want, and the players the same. So for me, I try to keep it as emotionless as possible and just keep it professional. It's my job.
So agents should act the same as well?
Of course, 100%.
So everybody's looking after their own interest?
Well, it's not about looking after your own interest. There's obviously a balance to play. And obviously the best deals are done when you try and make everybody happy. So if you're able to reach a deal where everybody's fair in a way where they're getting what they want out of a transaction, then it's great. Doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's a good feeling.
In any successful career, the more successful you get, the more challenges you'll face. And such of these obstacles you have faced in your career is legal challenges. You've faced some significant legal challenges. Recently, your case with Marina, the former director at Chelsea.
Yeah.
How did that happen in the first place?
No, look, I mean, I can't really go into too much detail because there's a lot of things ongoing because of that situation. But, it was a commercial dispute that for different reasons, unfortunately, was turned into a criminal one. And I had to defend myself. And thankfully, the justice system found in my favor unanimously because of, whatever it was. So, these things can happen. Again, that's why I said, and, unfortunately, when you're dealing in a business where there's a lot of personal opinions involved, for whatever reason, sometimes some people may, try and attack you in a different way. And, I had to deal with it. And thank God, it was dealt with in a good way in the court of law, and it was found in my favor. So
Right. I mean, in an interview, you said, let me quote you. I'm a small agent. I don't think I would be stupid enough to be threatening anybody, let alone somebody with the might of Roman Abramovich behind them. That would just be me on a suicidal mission. I'm not that stupid. How did these experiences shape your professional approach and public perception?
Look, I mean, it's very fresh. So to be honest, it's a bit of there's not really a question you can ask me now because it's only been a month or so since the trial. So the verdict came out. So no, it's just one of these things. In life, you learn from your experiences, and thankfully, I'm not afraid of anybody. So apart from Allah, of course, and always, and that's it. And that's what proved to be the case because, again, like I said in your quote, I'm not, even though I might be an agent who's involved in huge deals and transactions and players, I'm not a big multi-billion-dollar company or agency, even though I'm competing in the same level of deals as them. And, no matter what, I'll never ever let anybody push me over and think that they can, not be correct with me when it comes to behaving and dealing and what they have to commit to contractually and things like that. So in this particular case, obviously, I was owed a substantial amount of money, and it was unfortunate that it went the way it did. But obviously, everything happens for a reason, and thank God we are still here.
Yeah, you were supposed to get 300 grand for.
It was a lot more than that. It was a lot more than that. But yeah, so that's another conversation. So yeah, but yeah, like I said, the commercial disputes happen. Some people deal with it in certain ways, and what happened.
And did that put your career on hold for the last 2 years? You couldn't do any business?
Last 3 years, of course.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not been great, but...
Must have been tough on your mental as well.
Yeah, terrible. I mean, again, I'm just lucky that I'm the kind of person who's able to always try and be positive about things, but, a lot of maybe other people would have been a lot worse off than me. But, I always say, as long as we're still around and still able to tell the tale and, still be fighting to work and, do business and look at opportunities in life, I'm thankful for that.
That's a positive way to think of it.
That's the only way to think of it.
Well done. And you've always been working with Chelsea, right? Before that happened?
No, I've got relations with all the clubs in the Premier League. I've worked in the past with Chelsea, Manchester City, with Newcastle United, West Ham.
But that stopped your relationship with Chelsea for the time?
Yeah. I mean, look, obviously now there's a new ownership group. Only time will tell whether I'll engage in business with them in the future. But for sure, I mean, obviously, I've not done any business at all with anybody for the last 2.5 years. So
when you're getting back to business, that's the main question now.
I'm always in business. But back to business, we'll see. But, thankfully, I'm not just a football agent relying on football agent business. But at the same time, I love doing what I do. And alhamdulillah, there's a lot of different opportunities in the world. And that's why I'm very active in how I live my life.
Have you dealt personally with Roman?
Not directly personally, but we have a lot of different good mutual friends in football and non-football things. And, he to be honest, he was a great owner for Chelsea.
He was a great owner. He put us on the map.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, to be honest, I can never say anything negative about Roman Abramovich. 100%.
And your thoughts of what happened to Chelsea and they forced him out of the club. What's your thoughts?
Look, all I can say is it was unfortunate because obviously,
they forced him to sell the club.
Yeah, for sure. And it was obviously with a lot of political motivations. So again, it was a very unusual situation. So it's not like it's something that happens regularly. But yeah, it was sad. But again, it's life.
So for those aspiring to become sports agents like yourself, what essential qualities and skills should they develop?
Perseverance, roll with the punches, keep working hard. Don't let setbacks get to you, and always try and be as good as you can when it comes to, who you're representing and who you're working with, and be fair.
Be fair.
Definitely.
I like that. Let's stir the pot a bit with the rapid fire round of controversial statements. Okay. So give us your unfiltered thoughts. Okay? Unfiltered. Agents are the real power players in football, not the clubs or the players.
No, that's not true.
Not true.
Not true.
Social media has done more harm than good for football negotiations.
It's made it more tricky and made it a game of cat and mouse, because it's like a game of poker. Who's signing who's interested in who. And obviously social media plays a part, because it's not like the old days where, you know, you had to wait for news to come on TV. Nowadays, you know, you click a button on your phone and news, and real and fake, can be out within seconds.
The current transfer market is unsustainable and heading for a crash.
Not true, because again, you know, a lot of things are being done to control that. So a lot of, and you could see it now, especially in the Premier League, you know, there's been a lot of issues regarding that, and they're doing, I don't know if it's the best way of what they're doing at the moment, but they are doing things to try and obviously put brakes on that, and it seems to be working.
Players go broke after retiring by 2 years.
I don't know about after 2 years, but for sure, for whatever reason, a lot of these players are not great at managing their finances for different reasons, and they need to be a bit more sensible and cleverer with how they manage and spend their money while they have it as a player.
All what agents care about is their pockets, not the players, nor the club or the fans.
I don't know why agents should care about the fans as such, because their job is not to the fans. Their job is to work with the clubs and the players.
Jose Mourinho is done at top football level.
I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying he's done, but I mean, firstly, he's been at the top level of football for the longest time, being one of the most successful coaches in the history of football. So, you know, but the game has changed in terms of how things are run in football clubs and how managers work in football clubs. And obviously, that's maybe a reason why he had some of the difficulties he had as he got older. Now he's in an amazing new challenge in Turkey. And if he was to go there and win the league with the team that he went to coach, he'll be making more history.
But do you think his style of playing is outdated? Doesn't work anymore? With the likes of Guardiola, Klopp?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but the game has changed anyway.
Yeah.
So he's obviously, this guy was around before, you know, Jose Mourinho won the Champions League with FC Porto.
True.
Pep, as amazing as he is obviously, and obviously he's revolutionized the way football's played and things like that. But I'd like to see him work in more tougher circumstances.
Yeah, you know what? I always tell my friends, if Klopp had the same amount of money or budget at Liverpool, I think...
Liverpool spend more.
You reckon?
They did. It's a fact.
Wow.
Look at the stats. That's why whenever Klopp was moaning about that, they pull up the stats on, I think, Liverpool's net spend. I don't know exactly what the figures are, but they're not as rosy as he tried to paint it in his moans.
Because, you know, neutral fans, they admire Klopp for the way how he made, like, turned average players into superstars.
Look at what they've spent, and it's up there with Manchester City's.
Because the media probably doesn't show it as much. Maybe because Man City owned by Abu Dhabi.
Exactly.
And it's Arab money. And
there you go.
Pogba wasted his potential.
I wouldn't say wasted his potential. He's done amazing things in his career, but. Again, I would say he's probably more misunderstood than wasted his potential. And also, if you look at his time in Manchester United, the reality is the coaching and the staff management there wasn't really up to scratch. And that was nothing to do with Paul Pogba. That's to do with the fact that ever since Alex Ferguson left the club, they were not able to replace him.
But they had Mourinho, they had
but they weren't really long-term coaches. These are all short-term guys. And then when you've got a player like Pogba, who's obviously, even this week, if you saw what Kylian Mbappe said in the media, they asked him why he doesn't run in behind for France as much. And he said that when he has Pogba in the team, it's very easy, because Pogba arguably is the best passer of the ball.
He is. For
sure in his generation, and one of the best in history. So it's all circumstances. You know, he's had a great career. Obviously, he's got his own difficulties at the moment, which he's trying to, you know, sort out. And I would love to see him back on the pitch doing what he does, you know, what he loves doing the most.
Me too. Me too. He's such a top class player.
Yeah, but like I said,
such a shame.
Yeah, these things happen. So let's see.
Hazard's move to Madrid was a wrong move.
was a fantastic move for Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea made a lot of money.
They made a lot of money from it. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of the details, but, for whatever reason, as soon as he went to Madrid, he was injured. Yeah. And I guess maybe...
Ancelotti was a bit harsh as well.
No, I don't know. Look, you'd have to... Again, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but for sure he wasn't fit. Maybe he wasn't fit because he didn't take care of himself like he should do. And like I said, going to a club like Real Madrid requires a certain level of mental toughness and preparation. And maybe Hazard just wasn't ready for it for whatever reason. I don't know the guy personally very well, but there are times I've met him. He's an amazing guy. And obviously at Chelsea, he was a legend.
He's a legend.
So,
the best we've had.
So in the Premier League, he's done unbelievable. So, but again, doing unbelievable in the Premier League and doing great for Real Madrid is two different things. That's why Real Madrid is the biggest club in the history of football.
True. He was carrying Chelsea on his shoulders. And I believe one of the things the old regime got wrong, they should have built a team around him instead of filling the team with deadwoods, right? No disrespect to one of the players I'm going to mention, like Danny Drinkwater, what's his name?
But that's what I'm saying. That's why, like you were saying about Paul Pogba, he went to Manchester United and same thing. So these things happen. And, that's more to do with organization of how the clubs are managing, their scouting, their infrastructures, their recruitment, all these things. But look, like I said, Real Madrid as a football club is a totally different animal to any club in the world. And, you could be some of the best players in the world and go to Real Madrid and struggle. And for me, it's, obviously the facts are, they're the number one football club in the history of football, more than Barcelona, more than all these things. So, whether it's on the field, off the field, commercially. So
numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. Exactly. There you go.
Numbers don't lie. But yeah, just such a shame because he's the best we've ever had. He was such a joy to watch. I don't know any player now I can watch and just enjoy watching, apart from Mbappe sometimes. But Hazard was just whole different level. No,
it was a joy to watch. I loved watching him play. But look, it was unfortunate and it's a shame he had to stop playing football early. But that's life.
We've gathered some questions from the viewers and our listeners.
Great.
And here is some of our viewers' questions. The biggest commission you made. How much was the biggest commission you made?
I'm not gonna talk about amounts because that's not for me to talk about. However, what I would say is one of the biggest contracts I was ever involved in was the contract of Asamoah Gyan from Nadi Al Ain to China in Shanghai. It was a long time ago, so imagine that was I can't remember, I think it was in 2015, and that was the biggest contract.
Speaking of China, a lot of people compare the Saudi business model to the Chinese model now.
Big difference. Well, in a different way. The Chinese model was where a lot of the companies were involved in governmental companies, let's say, involved in the Chinese expansion. Whereas obviously in Saudi, it seems that it's fully government kind of plan.
Yeah.
And also, look, Saudi, like I said earlier, they love Saudi people love their football, and there's a lot of people in Saudi Arabia. So China, unfortunately, since the support from the businesses went down, obviously the league kind of collapsed in a way. But there's still football business in China. It's just not as big as it used to be.
Top 11 all time.
All time?
All time. First of all, what formation?
What formation?
Yeah, you start.
4-4-2.
4-4-2.
You have to, because that's like all these new formations that are being played nowadays. That's not like that's new football. If you're gonna all time, it's gotta be 4-4-2.
Okay. Start with goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper. Goalkeeper all time.
There's been so many great goalkeepers.
So many great goalkeepers. I would say one of the best goalkeepers I've seen. I'm only going to say it by what I've seen, to be fair, because I can't really go about maybe legends in the game. Peter Schmeichel, arguably.
Legend. Legend of the game.
I think so. So yeah, I would say Peter Schmeichel.
Okay. Centre backs?
I Centre backs, I would say
Sean Terry, your friend.
JT. I love JT. He's a legend of the Premier League. But maybe I would say Franco Baresi.
Okay.
Just because,
Solid.
yeah, I like that kind of style. And Vidic.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I like my defenders to defend, but then Baresi was a different style, and but then there's so many players, right? So
There's so many players.
yeah,
That's a solid partnership at the back. So who would have in your right back?
right back, Cafu for sure.
Legend of the
Yeah,
game.
no dispute there.
Left back.
It depends what we're playing. I mean, it could either be Ashley Cole, who's done amazing in his career and as a player for England and all the teams he played for.
One of the best.
Or if you wanted to be a bit more sexier, you'd go for Roberto Carlos because he was a bit more pleasing on the eye. So maybe
Free
for
kicks.
Yeah, so maybe for the look. But if I had to choose one out of those, I like my teams to be offensive, so it would have to be Roberto Carlos.
Roberto Carlos.
Yeah, look, if you had Roberto Carlos and Cafu going down the fullback positions for you, you won't even have a chance to attack
That's it.
because you'd be too worried about defending.
That's true. And then your midfield.
Midfield, I would have to say, again, for different reasons, I would say Patrick Vieira and Roy Keane.
Wow.
I mean, if you had these two in midfield,
That's it.
no midfielders in the world of football would get any change out of these two. I don't think.
World class.
Yeah,
World class.
yeah.
And then on the right wing, are you going to play with the diamond? How are you going to
I'll play with a diamond.
Okay, so who are you going to have in your centre mid?
No, Zidane, of course.
Zizou.
Yeah, legend, all time great, for sure.
100%.
I would say tricky
It is.
because that position, there's a lot of legends,
I agree.
especially in those positions.
Yeah.
And I prefer my old school legends to the new ones because I think they're just better players.
They played for the badge more.
No, they were just better players. I don't think many of the current new crop of superstars are as good as the OG ones.
Because they're not as resilient, mentally tough.
Every way, every shape. Physically, mentally, definitely not. Technically, no chance. I would say we're looking for one more midfielder, right? So
There's so many.
help me out here. Give me some options.
You've got Ronaldinho. You've got Xavi, Iniesta. You've got, if you want to go back, you've got Lampard, Gerrard,
I'd
De
go
Bruyne.
I'd go Ronaldinho.
Ronaldinho.
Yeah, they don't. All these other guys, especially we already have Keane and Vieira. So if you had Keane and Vieira with Ronaldinho and Zidane in front of him,
That's the dream midfield.
no one's going to touch these guys.
No one.
Even though Frank Lampard's an old friend of mine, who cares about these guys when you're talking about those guys?
Yeah, true.
I don't know. Two strikers.
Two strikers. So we've got
There's only two. And they both have the same name.
who? They both have got the same name.
They both have the same name. So
So
you have the Brazilian Ronaldo,
And Cristiano.
Cristiano Ronaldo. No question.
That's the dream team.
Listen, if you had Cristiano Ronaldo and Brazilian Ronaldo, you have the two all-time greatest forward players you would never want to play against, in my opinion. For me, much tougher than Messi, much more scarier than Messi. Messi is a legend for me. I love him. But I think Messi is a systems player, in my opinion. I don't know. Look, it's a shame because Messi never left his comfort zone to go and play in other leagues.
He did. He moved to the French league though.
It's a farmers league. He moved to the French league with Paris Saint-Germain, and I think they still didn't win everything.
No.
I think they struggled, in fact.
They struggled at the Champions League.
Yeah. So Ronaldo and obviously Brazilian Ronaldo.
Brazilian Ronaldo. I mean, the greatest number
But
9
that's what I'm saying.
I've ever seen in my life.
And the good thing is when you have Ronaldo, Brazilian and Portuguese Ronaldo, is with Portuguese Ronaldo, he can play 3-4 positions.
True. Can put him in the
So
wing.
between Brazilian Ronaldo, between Portuguese Ronaldo, Zidane, and Ronaldinho, you've got these 3 guys that can play anywhere across the attacking midfield and forward positions.
True.
And then you have Brazilian Ronaldo right at the top, who will just destroy any defender in the world. That's my 11.
Absolutely agreed. And who would you have as the manager for that team?
For that team, it would have to be Carlo Ancelotti.
Oh, I like that.
Because Don Carlo, as he's shown, is an all-time great and is able to manage those characters. I don't think Pep Guardiola can manage those characters. I think Mourinho can, but will then end up fighting them. And I think Carlo is the one who has shown his class.
Yeah. He's done it at Chelsea. He's done it at Milan.
Everywhere.
At Madrid twice.
Everywhere. So for me, that's my man. That's my coach.
Yeah. He's so great at man management.
But that's what I'm saying. So I think if you're having these group of players...
Big egos.
Yeah, but to be fair, the ones I've picked are not bad.
Cristiano got a massive ego.
He has, but he also will have massive respect to someone like Carlo Ancelotti.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that whole group, I think it's only maybe Cristiano. But like I said, Cristiano is, for me, I was having this conversation with someone actually yesterday, I think. Cristiano Ronaldo is on his own because it's like talking about Michael Jackson in music, in my opinion. Because when you have achieved the level of success and the quality that you have, like Michael Jackson was as a singer from 5 years old, you can't talk to this guy about music.
No.
Cristiano does the same thing. This guy went from being 17 years old, scrawny little kid, to being a monster for the best part of 25 years. And that's never going to get repeated again. Yeah, but I'm saying that's never going to get repeated again.
Never. His mentality, just like speaking about Ali in boxing.
There you go.
One of a time.
Well, Ali is the Brazilian Ronaldo of boxing. Had they not had certain difficulties, they would have been the greatest of the greatest.
That's so true.
And obviously,
so true.
Yeah. But they still achieved what they achieved.
Do you reckon Ronaldo should just call it a day now in terms of international football? Because he seems like he's a bit struggling at the moment.
Look, no, I think, to be honest, again, I don't know him personally that well. I know people that he works with very closely, especially in Saudi, but I wouldn't bet against him taking a stop next in America.
You reckon?
And finishing after the World Cup in America, internationally and club football. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I wouldn't bet against Cristiano Ronaldo finishing his career and his club career in America and at the World Cup with Portugal.
Might happen.
Look, if it happens, it will be unbelievable because I don't know how old will he be then, 41?
He'll be 41, yeah.
And look at Pepe.
Pepe, did you see his performance?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying to you. So Pepe was 41 and Cristiano is in better physical shape than Pepe, so why not? But I think with all that's happened to Cristiano, he probably needs a mental break. But I'm sure, no doubt, he'll be itching to get back and doing his thing for Al Nassr next year.
And if you watch the game yesterday, he wasn't getting balls in. No one was crossing the ball properly. No one was servicing him.
Look, like I said, that's all I don't know. Like, I'm not... when I watch football, I'm not really analyzing that much. Just because for me, it's work. I'm not a coach. So I'm never trying to be technical on that side. But again, only time will tell. But that could be beautiful. That would be a beautiful ending for him anyway.
Especially if he wins it.
I don't think he'll win it with Portugal for sure, not the World Cup. But the point is, if he's able to still be performing at a good level, then goes and conquers the MLS, then plays in Portugal to a good level in the World Cup in America, that could be a nice fairy tale ending.
Yes.
Then you can call it a day. But to be honest, this guy is a physical beast. You never know.
He is.
After United, everyone thought he was done for. He went to Saudi, which physically, in terms of the demands, like you said about Benzema, is not so easy.
Yeah.
And then he went and still scored 30 goals, whatever number of goals he scored in Saudi. So why not?
Yeah, why not? He's got that mental toughness.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying to you.
You know what I really respect about him the most? Like one time that when he was at Juve, he played the cup final of the Italian Cup final in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, right? They won the cup final. He scored the winning goal, of course. Then on the same night as they lifted the cup, they went back to Italy.
Yeah.
So naturally, all the players having a day off with their family, with their friends to lay off, right? 9 a.m. in the morning, Cristiano on the treadmill.
Yeah, but that's
when I was like, wow.
That's it. But that's
different
what I'm saying.
level.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. He's as much as you would never want to treat people differently, but this guy has earned the right to be handled in his own way.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I was using Ancelotti as my coach for my Dream 11.
He will fit really well.
Yeah.
Final question. How can I become a football agent?
You have to go and pass the FIFA exam.
Is it easy?
I don't know because, I've been an agent for over 20 years. I wasn't required to do the exam.
So, but now laws have changed, regulations in place. And
Yeah. So to be a new agent, you have to pass the exam, which has a lot of legal requirements.
And of course, then you will need your networking.
Yeah, but that's another story. That's to be successful in the business. But to be an agent, you got to get your license.
And that's it.
To get you started, yeah.
And then after you get started, what do you do next? Do you go
You gotta
football
network.
clubs? And
You gotta network. Meet players, meet clubs, meet people, meet directors, meet people, and see how you can connect the dots to make business. Not easy.
Saif, I really enjoyed my time with you today.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. The pleasure is absolutely mine. I really enjoyed this interview and this talk with you, and I'm sure our viewers and listeners have enjoyed this as much as I did. If you like this episode, here is more, and please do not forget to subscribe and like. I'll see you soon.